So the police service needs to recruit an additional 20,000 police officers, and a lot of forces are now working towards this to recruit that number over the next 3 years on top of the 26,000 or so that they'll be recruiting anyway. So that's a massive 46,000 officers that are going to need to be recruited over a 3-year period. Can you believe that number? So last week I was at a symposium in London, which was hosted by Skills for Justice, the Sector Skills Council for the Justice Sector. So thank you very much for the invite. And I joined a lot of chiefs, HR officers, and people from the private sector who were involved in the rollout of training, as well as the College of Policing, for what at times was a really quite lively and very interactive and interesting day. So the purpose of this video is to kind of sum up the feel for it a little bit, because I've not seen much really that's highlighting some of the issues that were highlighted on that day that are going to impact on the police service. So in no particular order, I'm just going to bat a few about. So one of them is competition, so that we believe that we're going to be able to attract 46,000 people to succeed, but at a national sort of average of about between 1 in 10 and 1 in 8 are going to be successful in the recruitment process, depending which force that you're applying to. I mean, 2 years ago, West Yorkshire Police, it was 1 in 25. 1 in 25 are successful. I'm not sure if forces can be that picky anymore, because this competition now exists within the health service, within the council, councils, within all sorts of sectors out there. We're starting to see employment rise. It's a bit more competitive. Gone are the days where you could just pin an A4 piece of paper on the notice board of police headquarters, say we're recruiting tomorrow, and get 10,000 applications. Forces are having to work really hard now, and what I've noticed from my perspective is it's the forces in the southeast who have been working their hardest for the longest, and the forces in the north, like Durham and West Yorkshire Police, haven't been having to work quite so hard to attract recruits. Watch that picture change. The process being too long was mentioned quite a lot. I have clients who have been waiting up to 2 years for a place. That is just completely unacceptable. No other sector would allow for that, and there's no excuse for a 2-year long process. The university requirements, having to either have a degree in policing or have a degree, or go into the police constable degree apprenticeship, is causing some concern. And unsurprisingly, it's already starting to cause some ripples. So Warwickshire Constabulary just recently have just taken a bunch of candidates all the way through the recruitment process to the final offer for the initial police learning and development programme. This is the old one that people talk about, that's still current in many forces, and they've just written to those candidates to say they're not running it anymore. It's now going to be the PCDA, or the degree entry route, and that's going to be in late summer next year in 2020. So that's 9 months away for many people. Excuse me. And for quite a few of the clients I've been speaking to, they don't have enough UCAS points to get in. So there's one of them in particular. She's been a special constable for 3 years. She actually works for a constabulary at this moment in time. She's succeeded first time all the way through the recruitment process, only to be told that she can't join now. She's going to have to join under the PCDA, but she's not got enough UCAS points to do that. So that's her dream blown out the water. And we're doing things like that while still facing massive competition to recruit 46,000 officers. And there she is, successful in every stage of the recruitment process. She volunteers for the police, she works for the police, and yet no one wants her, or that's how she thinks. So how are we doing? I mean, how do we do that? I mean, you've got to work really hard to do that sort of thing. And she's not the only one. There's so many people out there in similar positions. Something else that's highlighted was there's no national programme for the there's no national programme. There's the national programme for the PEQF and for Search Day 1, but everything else is made up by forces. So we've got 43 different ways of doing things just within the Home Office forces, and we've got BCP, CNC, Ministry of Defence, Police. Am I missing anyone? I probably am, but we've got all those other forces on top of the Home Office forces, and they're all doing their own thing. Fleet and estates, drop-off rates. I know the College of Policing through Aspire Mine is expecting that there's going to be a 26% dropout rate from the PCDA. Retention, so there's the retention problem. If you're going to lose up to a quarter or more of all of your PCDA candidates, because these are people going to have to work towards a degree over 3 years. Most people do that just full-time, a degree over full-time over 3 years. You're going to be working as a police officer, working shifts and doing a degree. Where do you find the time to do all of that? So allegedly forces will give the officers time to do it, but I'm not sure even if they do give up that time, whether it's going to be enough for people to properly apply themselves to their studies and get a degree. Supervision ratios are going to be a challenge. In the Met Police, it was mentioned how the average frontline officer only has 2.5 years service. So this is a massive challenge. Change fatigue, and if you think about it, in 3 years' time, a third of all police officers are going to have less than 3 years service. In 5 years' time, just under half of all police officers will have less than 5 years service. This is a massive, massive challenge for sergeants and inspectors now. This is a challenge now to get them developed and ready, because a lot of forces are finding it difficult already to promote good people to the rank of inspector and sergeant. They're finding that process difficult. So here's the big one. It was mentioned how there's a massive opportunity for diversity here missed in terms of diversity, equality and inclusion. I'm not seeing a lot of forces taking this seriously at this moment in time. And I pose the question that we've got a process of search on day one which has got an adverse impact ratio of less than 0.80 consistently. The new day one has got an adverse impact ratio of 0.71. Now, for any of you who don't know what that is, you take the number of people who've succeeded, the percentage who succeed who are BAME, divide that by the number of people, percentage of people who are successful who are white British, then you get the adverse impact ratio. Anything under 0.80 would be unlawful in the United States and could be used as evidence in an employment tribunal as indirect discrimination in this country. So we've got that. And we've got a process that, as one chief constable said on Twitter recently, everyone knows that search throws up disproportionate results, but no one knows why. So the question I asked was, why? Why? If this is such an important issue, why hasn't there been any research commissioned on this over the past several years? Bearing in mind that the last time the adverse impact ratio was above 0.80, and then it was only 0.85 or something like that, was in 2013. 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago. So for almost 7 years, we've had a process which indirectly discriminates against people of black, Asian, minority ethnic, and no one knows why. This is such an important issue that no one knows why. So I asked for representatives in that group, and there's over 40 people there. How many of you have a gold group, as recommended by the National Police Chiefs Council, to tackle diversity, equality and inclusion, including that in recruitment? And only one chief mentioned that they have. Good old West Yorkshire Police, they have. I also asked, what are the reasons? Why do we have this issue? The Met Police just said they've got a disproportionate dropout of BAME at every stage of the process, but they don't know why. There's one chief guessed it's because they went to see what happens at search, and it's almost all white, male, retired police officer assessors. And so that's the reason why they've pulled search into their own force, and they now use community assessors. But that doesn't explain why the day one, which has a diverse group of assessors, is still producing an adverse impact ratio of less than 0.80. It's actually 0.71 for the new day one. Maybe we're over-promising something to those who are BAME, but they still get through the competency-based questions, so there's something there. Actually, no one knows. That's the thing. There was stony silence. No one knew. But then again, no one actually put their hand up and said, right, this is so important, I'm going to commission research on this now. No, there's no action. So that's my call for action, folks. Start taking this seriously, because I listen to people who are in tears, who have failed the process, who are BAME, and they can't figure out why. And some of them are starting to come to the conclusion it's because of their background, the colour of their skin, or their nationality. I'll leave you with that one, folks. This is really important. We're going to sleepwalk into a massive problem unless we get a grip of this now. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye for now.